welcome to the first video on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel where we start focusing on season 2024. It begins today. And in this video, I want to talk about some of the things I learned from the grand final, both finalists, Collingwood, the premiers, the champs, the final series, and things that I believe we will need to get on top of in order to win the Premiership, whether that's next year or in many years to come. Hopefully we win a couple. And at the end of the video, I want you to provide some of your feedback, some of the things that you saw, some of the things we can focus on. So whether that is certain players, game styles, techniques, mentality, I'm really curious to open this up. So firstly, the grand final was right up there with one of the best games of football I've ever watched. Two great teams. We saw firsthand how great the Brisbane Lions were and are. And I don't think, it's hard. They didn't win the Premiership, and I don't know what that's like to make a grand final and lose in a close manner the way that they did. But I think the Lions, firstly, we'll start with them. Their ability to absorb pressure and absorb momentum was very impressive. We saw them come back from a 5-goal deficit in the preliminary final and really just slowly chip away and make their way back into the lead. And I think that is a testament to their ability to stay calm. And that is definitely something that the Blues will need moving forward. I think we took steps forward in that. I think we also have a team that's quite early in their experience playing in big finals. We have played in many big games with big crowds and felt a lot of disappointment. For many years, we weren't able to just get over the line. We started to see that shift in 2023. So I think the Lions can certainly teach us something there. You know, we touched on experience last week and the week before, and really we've been touching on experience for a while. How can you win a premiership if you don't give yourself a chance by making the finals, or in this case, making the top four? Like, there are Cinderella stories of teams that can win the premiership outside the top four, but the one thing that really hit home for me in this final series, and you look at the way the season actually ended, you have to give yourself the best chance. I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but you have to give yourself the best chance. It's not about, you make top four, you're guaranteed a spot in the granny, or you're guaranteed a spot in the prelim. But this whole season has been really, at the end of the day, all about who gave themselves the best chance to win it. And on any given day, Brisbane might have won that premiership. Collingwood may have won it, I don't know how many times out of 10 if you replay that game. But you see how fine the margins are. People are talking about like an advantage decision. Like, it's so fine. The deeper you go, the more fine the margins are. So I really admire that fact. And then I think you look at the Pies. How can you not respect what they did and what they've done? If you look at, let's just say, their last 2 years, they've made big decisions about their list, getting rid of Grundy after just signing him. They've had their stability tested with external noise, media about some of their players. They've had off-field indiscretions, things of that nature. And so their ability to stay together and stay connected and stay as a unit, they're the best in the league at it, I would say. I think they've shown that. I think their ability to stay calm and composed in tight moments has been there for the last couple of years. Let's be honest. The sooner we realize that it's not luck, and the sooner we realize that you make your own luck, the better it is. I think the emotional response, because you don't want Collingwood to win a premiership if you're not a Collingwood supporter, obviously. I think the emotional response is, the luck will run out. Well, how many times can you do the same thing before you're considered not just lucky, but actually good at what you do? So their ability to, first of all, be there, show up, give themselves the best opportunity. They even, if you really strip it all back, they actually had one of the best seasons you could possibly want. They were so far ahead of the competition early in the season that by the end of it, we were tricked into thinking, oh wow, they've fallen apart. But the reality is, they had sewn up that top spot, that top 2 spot, that home qualifying final. and essentially a spot in the preliminary final. They had sewn that up really early in the piece and gave themselves a bit of buffer room. And then even when they had injuries at the end to some key players, they were still able to manufacture what they needed to. I don't think they lost players who are in their top 3 or 4, potentially. I think their best players were available on the day. And to be honest, I went into the grand final thinking, okay, well, I'm looking at the lists. Brisbane have a much better balanced list. Collingwood have that connection with each other on the field. That is where I think the Blues have taken strides, our ability to find the connection with each other on the field. I think it got better. It's got a long way to go, but I think we have some similarities there. The experience matters. They've had pain, preliminary final exits. They lost a grand final in the most heartbreaking fashion that you could really want in 2018. And it was only 5 years. It was 5 years until they were actually able to avenge that. So it just goes to show how hard it is to just make a grand final, let alone win a grand final. So I think our ability to be tough and contested, and when the game boils down to contest by contest, I like where Carlton are at the moment. I think that'll just continue to improve the more we do it. And clearly that is what we are going to rely on. However, our ability to be a little bit more clinical with our skills, the quality of ball movement, there was a stark difference between what I watched in the grand final and what we were able to do. We are a team that, we thrive off waves of emotion. And I think we showed that in 2022, and that obviously hurt us. Then we found some consistency in 2023 in the second half. But when you look at the season as a whole, it really was a tale of two halves, pre-round 13, post-round 13. So our ability to stay consistent throughout the entire year, so we don't have to rely on, expending so much energy just to get back in the hunt and then put ourselves in a position to, make the prelim and make the granny. That's going to be a telling part of what we do. When you look at Collingwood, the moves they were able to make, if you look at the grand final team, the Premiership team, Tom Mitchell, who they brought in, Bobby Hill, Norm Smith medalist, Billy Frampton even, played an important role in nullifying the influence of Harris Andrews, Oleg Markov as well, who they almost had, then they didn't have him, and then they had him again. Like these moves, it just goes to show 2 or 3 or 4 moves, and you can be adding Premiership players to your list. So I like what we've done with our list over the course of the last few years. I'm grateful to be saying that we've picked up recruits that have added to our team and that are playing consistent football. So I still think there's 2 or 3 moves to make probably every year. Let's be honest. You've got to draft 3 kids, I think it is. You have to draft 3 players. And then, we are in a window now. I would say we fall into the category of contenders. Our Premiership window is open. Now, whether or not we do it remains to be seen. But I think because we are in this position, we've earned some, I don't know, is it brownie points or footy god points? We've earned some respect, and that with that might come some free agents who are at a point in their career where they may not be getting as much opportunity, or they may be playing for a team that's just not a contender and they're getting on in age, or whatever the case may be. They just want to be a part of a Premiership team. That might lend to us some opportunities to add some real quality to the list. So I also have learned, I'm going to learn the hard way. I don't know what trade week's going to give us. I know there's some players that may or may not be traded. Like there's not much room for sentiment. You got to go and get what you need to win a Premiership. You got to have a plan. So I like where we're at with our list management team. I have trust in them because they've done, I think, very well over the course of the last few seasons with the players that we've brought in and the fact that they are contributing at a high level for us. But you've got to be bold. It's clear. You've got to have a plan. You've got to be bold. And then obviously you've got to be healthy. And that is the other tick that I think we saw this year. We got the management of the pre-seasons, I think, right. Was it just luck? I don't believe in luck as much as others. I think you make your own luck with your hard work. Hard work creates luck. Give yourself the best chance with the work that you put in. So that's what I thought about that. Wow, the Pies, mate. That's the benchmark. You know, people will say, oh, Carlton have become the hunted now. Like, yes, maybe to an extent, but right now it's Collingwood. That's the best team, and if you look at the makeup of their list, like they can still contend, and they've got youth on their side with key players that will take over their older players now. So yeah, those are some of the things that come to mind with what we need. You know, there may be some certain players, experience, the health of the list, and, you know, ability to use the ball in an intelligent way under pressure. I mean, every team will say that. But we, because of the situation that we are in now, given that we made the preliminary final, if we can just add a couple of more layers to this team, whether that comes from within and the development team that we do have, and how those players respond to that development and the work they put in the off season, that'll be a determining factor as to whether or not the Blues can win a premiership in 2024. So that's what I think. What do you think? What are some of the things you've learned from the final series, from the grand finalists, and ultimately the best team in the competition, the Collingwood Football Club? Let us know in the comments below.